What exactly we got going on here, friend?
It's a lady.
Yeah, I know, lady. Yeah, she's a
good
good girl.
Yeah.
But I'm a little confused why you have a dog on the set.
This is the show with the dog.
It's the dig. The dig. Why don't you go ahead and put the dog down so we can start
right
the
back,
dig.
okay? You come right back, okay? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Dig, a series dedicated to helping you improve profitability on your farm.
I'm Aaron. This is Collin.
Let's dig in.
You know, Collin, I'd argue that the planter pass is the most important one we make all year.
Reminds me of the old saying, you know, yield is potentially the highest when the seed is in the bag. Everything else we do after that brings the potential yield down.
Exactly. And that's why I think it's so important to make sure that we do the best job we can when it comes to planting and maximizing that pass. So I think today's episode should be all about doing just that.
Aaron, that sounds great to me, but we could spend a lot of time talking about this, and they only give us a short amount of time to do these videos. So what do you have in mind?
Well, you know, I think first thing we need to look at would be kind of those basic fundamentals of planting. Things like planting depth, down pressure, and singulation are all easily overlooked at times, but can lead to pretty significant yield penalties when we do ignore those.
Sounds like a great time to look at our planter settings omission study on corn. If you aren't familiar with these omission studies, let's break it down for you. Let's say we're doing everything in the system, and let's assume we're doing it all correctly. So planting, for example, there's a lot of things going on. Downforce settings, row cleaner adjustments, closing wheel pressure, the list goes on. What happens when we intentionally do one of these things wrong? How does that affect our yield? That's what this study looks at.
The purpose of this study isn't to identify the things that you can ignore, but rather to show what are the things you haven't been paying enough attention to that could be costing you some money. With that said, let's look at the data from the past year. So this is our multi-location data, and the best way to interpret this is to say, I'm doing everything correctly, except I have poor singulation or aggressively set row cleaners, and the chart below shows how much that hurt us. The big one that stands out to me is planting depth. When we planted at 1 inch compared to 2 inches, we cost ourselves about $50 an acre.
Aaron, I'm sure most people aren't intentionally planting their corn that shallow.
That's the point of this study though, right? I'm with you. Most people probably aren't doing it intentionally, but I bet there are spots in the field where a 2-inch depth isn't always achieved. Maybe it's due to wrong downforce settings or changing soil types or tillage practices. Maybe you're planting too fast. Maybe the planter isn't indexed correctly, which causes some rows to plant too shallow. You know, little things we overlook sometimes that can leave dollars on the table.
What about the poor singulation treatment? That's huge too. To simulate poor singulation, we modify some corn plates to achieve around 95% singulation compared to that 99% or better for the rest of the plot. As you can see from the data, that 4% reduction had a significant impact on yields and ROI come harvest time. Just like planting depth, that is an easy one to overlook sometimes. So be sure to take some time to dial in your meters to maximize singulation and performance.
You know, Collin, the one that shocked me the most with its results was that incorrect downforce treatment. It didn't hurt us nearly as badly as I thought it would in this first year. And we've done a lot of research on downforce over the years, and we've seen some pretty great results from fully automated hydraulic downforce. But this year we just didn't really see that same result, as it only hurt us a little over a bushel. Now, obviously this is 1 year of data, and we're gonna continue to do this study for a few more years at minimum, so we do get a more robust data set.
Speaking of hydraulic downforce, now would be a great time to transition to our next topic.
Which would be?
PFR proven planter attachments.
Oh.
We aren't going to spend a lot of time on this stuff because you guys have probably already watched our 5 profitable planter upgrades video from last year.
But we'll drop a link in the description just in case you didn't.
But if we're trying to maximize the planter pass, we can't just ignore some of these things. Since we're just on the topic of hydraulic downforce, let's start there. Like you mentioned, Aaron, we've had some great results over the years when testing this. Looking at the 3-year multi-location data, you'll see that we've picked up close to 4 bushel on average when switching to fully automated hydraulic downforce. But you can really tell the story when we compare the different PFR sites and how they respond to incorrect downforce settings. In the more forgivable prairie soils at our Central Illinois farm, you'll notice that there isn't a huge yield drag. Here in Atlanta though, we have more clay in our soils and we see bigger yield drag compared to Illinois. And when we look at London, Ohio, which has even more clay content, you'll see a major yield drag from incorrect downforce settings.
Chances are many of you have farms that encompass soils similar to all these sites put together. Some have more clay, some are a little more loamy, some might be sand. Sometimes this might be all in the same field depending on where you're farming. Whatever the case, we see the greatest response to automated hydraulic downforce in farms with more variability and typically higher clay content. If that sounds like your farm, I'm confident you'll see benefits to upgrading the downforce system on your planter.
I know many of you are familiar with the aftermarket closing wheel research we've done in the past, but it's something we still recommend to everyone. Up on the screen, you can see that there are PFR proven wheels from over the years. What I really want to focus on here is that yield win percentage column. You'll notice out of all the years of testing and replications at multiple sites, most of these wheels consistently increase yield 80% of the time or more. With those kind of numbers, you can be confident when spending the money on aftermarket closing wheels for your planter.
You know, all that sounds pretty similar to our 2x2x2 research. We've preached it for years and many of you are probably familiar with the concept, but it is one of the most consistent nitrogen practices we've ever tested in PFR from a win percentage standpoint. After 4 years of testing through multiple sites, weather patterns, and soil types, we increased our yield 88% of the time when banding nitrogen on both sides of the row as opposed to one. Adding a 2x2x2 system to your planter can be a fairly expensive investment, but when you look at the acres to pay off on these 3 PFR proven systems, you'll see that it really doesn't take long to recoup that investment.
Let's say I'm adding 2x2x2 to my planter, or maybe I've already got it. What are some things that I can add to my starter program to increase ROI on something that I'm already utilizing?
Great question, Colin. Honestly, 2 new PFR proven products kind of come to mind. We've got NanoN Plus and XYWAY LFR, which are great additions to your current program that could really help boost your yields.
NanoN did provide some pretty good returns for us over the last 3 years, averaging over $17 an acre ROI across all sites. Now, I'm no mad scientist. So I'll keep this pretty high level. Imagine this, okay?
Okay.
You've got a bunch of tiny nanoparticles that become an exchange site for those nutrients. In this case, nitrogen. These nanoparticles then help carry that nitrogen into the plant more effectively and efficiently, okay? Its sister product, NanoPro, is also PFR proven this year and is used in foliar applications of nutrients or fungicides. NanoN is a low use rate product at only 4 ounces, but it delivers big results when added to your starter fertilizer.
XYWAY LFR from FMC is another new PFR proven product I mentioned that can be added to your starter fertilizer when applying 2x2x2. After 3 years of testing in our fungicide rate and timing study, we found that the reduced rate of XYWAY, that 10.5 ounce rate, gave us a slightly better ROI than the full rate of 15.2 ounces. When we coupled that with a foliar application of Veltima at R1, we saw the highest ROI. XYWAY LFR protects the crop at planting and throughout the growing season. It is a systemic product that guards against early season issues like crown rot and mid-season foliar infections. However, we do not think it is a full-on replacement for foliar applied applications later in the season, but it is a great complement to them.
So to recap, don't forget about the basic fundamentals when setting your planter this spring. If you're considering upgrades, check out the list of PFR proven attachments to ensure a sound return on investment. And lastly, look at the PFR proven starter additive products to help enhance your current program. Well, Aaron, I don't know about you, but I think it's time to wrap this show up. Hopefully you can take something away from today's episode and try on your own farm to improve ROI and maximize your planter pass.
Some of the things that we talked about today will be linked down in the description. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you get notifications when new videos are released. And we will see you guys again on another episode of
The Dig!
I'm Aaron, this is Collin.
Shoot, sorry, forgot about that.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh, you're so cute, aren't you?
It's a new episode of The Dog. It's The Dig, not The Dog. You good? Sign off.
Not really. Ready? What's up, everybody?
You are covered.
I know.